Today I want to talk about channeling spirits and how it is done or what it's like. A lot of people ask me questions to do with this, and I wanted to clarify a few things for you today. Now, for one thing, if you have these specific gifts of psychic ability, and there are many different branches of this, by the way, but if you have these gifts, spirits will readily find you, especially if there is one of their loved ones sitting with you or asking about them, especially. I mean, let's say we have a person named Marion that's sitting in front of me, and her husband, she misses so deeply, her heart is so strongly in there, and of course the spirit would be checking in on her a lot nonetheless, but because she's wanting to contact him, he'll be trying to contact back, and you would then be the tool to do that with her. So basically, you wouldn't strain yourself to try. I mean, it's there. The energy is definitely there. The person with their heart's desire is there. And the spirit is looming around somewhere. Unless, of course, this person has been reborn into another body, if you believe in reincarnation, or risen to become part of the higher power already. But a lot of the time these spirits are listening in, and they would be there, and they would touch base with the person sitting there wanting to talk to them. You don't strain yourself to try to do this. The gifts are there. It should come pretty naturally. But it helps to actually talk about the spirit, the person that passed away, let's say, instead. It helps to actually talk to the one left behind on an emotional level and try to be there for them, for the spirit to start coming through and its own feelings or thoughts to be pouring through you. At least this is the way it happens for me, and everybody's different. Some people will tell the person that is wanting you to contact them to go home. They'll contact them, and then whenever they get back with you, and you would name a specific date or whatever, that they come back around and find any, they acquire any findings that you have made while in their absence. Of course you would tell them things likewise that they know that only this person would know, and so forth. But you would send them away, and then you would use whatever tool you use to actually call on this spirit. Some people use a mirror, some use a crystal, some merely go into meditation or astral into the higher planes to talk to this person who's been lost. Of course, you will have taken the full name and the birth date of the person and anything that is important, or questions that the subject may have had for that person that's passed away, But that is one way. And you could use scrying into water, scrying into fire. You could use meditation, astral projection, mirror gazing. I mean, there's so many different ways that you could do this. Sometimes I like to just sit there across the table from the mourning person that has lost someone and gaze into their eyes and go into my own little world while sitting there with them and kind of meditate into their eyes. Let myself go and begin communicating the information that the person gives. A lot of times the spirit will show me pictures of different things that are transpiring, or moving films, basically, of things that happen within their life with this person. And all of that would be conveyed back along with definitions, descriptions, and words that have been said, and the person would be able to validate that this is how things had transpired then, So, I mean, and that's one way I do it. But I prefer to do a tarot card reading for my clientele, and if there is any information to be acquired from the spirit world or to be given to somebody in the spirit world, then that would come through in the tarot cards. I mean, laying them out, doing a regular reading on a person, who has a lot of questions to do with the spirit. And I'll tell them, that's, something that will come through or it won't. It really depends on whether the spirit is there or not, which is the truth, no matter which method you use in trying to channel the spirit. But just sitting back and basically gazing into my cards, doing a regular tarot card reading for them, and then the information slowly bleed through and then to the client, and then they'll start having a conversation with them. It becomes more comfortable if I'm kind of swayed into it rather than if I make myself do it by reasons that you would understand. I mean, anytime you try too hard on anything, then you're going to meet with complications. There's mood setters like your candles here. A nice incense or aromatic oil going off in the air is very helpful. The room being lightly dimmed and basically trying to put yourself in a mode for it. And that's why I like to do a reading on a person, which the client would come in for a reading. And if there's information to be had, it would come through. Not charging them any extra for it or anything. Basically, just do a reading for them. And, the spirit coming through. And sometimes the spirit will talk through my voice using their own words. But a lot of times, it'll be a conveyance saying, he says that, if you're to do this, blah, 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 you need to remember back when this had transpired or whatnot, for example. But basically it would be a he said or she said ordeal. And is there anything that you would like to convey to the spirit while they're listening? And you don't have to relay this because the spirit's going to hear it himself or herself. But, and then there would typically, and I'm going to be honest with you, there's going to typically be several other spirits that either the subject doesn't want there or didn't expect to show up. So be ready to convey other messages likewise to do with other spirits that want to. And 9 out of 10 times, your client, your subject, is going to leave from there crying because it's very emotional for them and it's to be expected to be that way. They always leave crying. I mean, and you need to be sympathetic to that. Don't let them leave being extremely upset ever, because it could affect their driving and they could get themselves killed. And you don't want to not be there for somebody that's in mourning, because if a person's coming to you, no matter how old the death was, how long ago, it must still be hitting home with them or else they wouldn't be asking about it. Or it may be a very, very recent death, but most of the time they have questions as to why. Because only half of the time or less was it a natural death, or if it was a natural death, maybe there were some hidden effects there that they didn't know about. Perhaps they knew that the person had cancer in their stomach, but didn't know that it had stemmed from the prostate or from the spine or whatever. And I'm not a doctor, and I don't profess to be, so I don't go into a lot of detail there. And you need to always let the person know you're not a doctor and you don't take the place of one, especially if you're looking into their health, But, channeling a person, a spirit, is a very smooth ordeal if it's meant to happen. And it can be a very hard one if you're trying too hard. But these are things that are supposed to happen or they're not. Mainly it depends on whether this person is still around or if they've moved on. And let's be honest, These spirits don't aspire to hold on, hang around one person's head, be chained to them, watch their wife remarry and have sex with somebody else, or have other kids with somebody else, or watch them in death, though they may come back to collect them if they've already moved to become part of the God system, But the spirits don't always hang around. As a matter of fact, they really almost never hang around. They do, particularly for the first 2 years, so that you can get past their death and they can help you. Also, they have to stabilize themselves and what's happened to them, and they have to learn and grow from it before they can move upward and onward. So typically they're around for 2 years. This is what I've been made to understand, that they're around for about 2 years before they actually begin to ascend and going through whatever transitions that they must, aside of course, the very deep one that they've just undergone, but they do have to come to an understanding as to what's happened to them, and they have to help others settle into a role in life without them, and this is pretty basic. So channeling is a very beautiful thing to do because you're helping all of these people that are going through heartbreak, but a deep sensitivity is much needed here in order to do the job that you're to do, because you're not just a person on the other side of the table. You're not just some bogus psychic. You are a person that understands. You're a counselor. You're a helper. And you're someone that at that particular time is acting on behalf of a family member to whoever is on this side of the world or on the other side of this same dimension. Nonetheless, try to help as much as you can. Make them happy. Be there for them. And yes, there are going to be tears, but you do the best you can to, like I said, make them happy. Alright, anyway, this is Lady Leeanna signing off for right now. And I hope that you enjoyed this edition of Mystic Shadow Insights, Psychic Endeavors, and Tarot Card Lessons Made Easy. Alright, take care of yourself and bright blessings.